Hi, welcome to Coffee and Closers. I'm Nikolai Bador, and I want to personally invite you to join me and one of today's top performing sales stars for a cup of coffee and authentic conversation. And our collective goal is that you will walk away with tangible knowledge that you can apply to your sales efforts today. Are you ready? Grab a cup, fill it up, and let's get into another episode of Coffee and Closers.
All right, welcome, you guys. So this is how this goes. So this is an hour-long program. First 30 minutes, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask our fantastic guest a handful of questions, and we're going to record that, and it's going to be distributed via our vlog and podcast. Thanks to the amazing Jensen Studios. So put your hands together for those guys. And then after that, we're going to pull the plug, and then it's your show. So you guys get the chance to ask a local celebrity anything that you could possibly think of in regards to sales, marketing. It's the end of the year, so maybe you've always wanted to start a company. She's done both. So, how do you do that? You can ask whatever you want. Our only rule is there is no judgment. All right? Ask away. Ask anything you want. Okay? Before we do that, though, it is the end of the year, and if you guys have been tracking, we've been growing. And the way we've been growing and being able to do this for free month after month is thanks to some fantastic people that I'd like to bring up here really quick and thank them. So would Motive Power come up? Red Birch Recruiting, Focal Point Coaching, our friends at WeWork. You guys want to come up here for a second? I want to get you some airtime. This would not be possible without these folks, okay? So I'm going to introduce them really quick. Yeah, let's... All right. WeWork has been with us. So we started at Coco. We love our friends at Coco. We decided to move to WeWork, and we love our friends at WeWork. And you guys have been so great. Thank you so much for making this possible and this move and everything. And welcome to your new space. Thanks, Prentice. All right. Paul, Andy, thank you guys so much for supporting this last year. So these guys, anything operational that you can possibly think of to handle and keep your house in order, that's what these guys do. We depend on them. A lot of companies here locally depend on them also. So make sure to come and say hi to them afterwards. They're the best at what they do. Put your hands together for them. And then anyone looking for a new gig? Anyone looking to build a team? There's very few better than Jeff Sorensen of Red Birch Recruiting. I used to work with him at Oracle. I saw him build teams there. Now he does it for other folks. So go see him after. And then last but not least, sales is a language, okay? You don't learn it and go to Spain and speak fluently and come back to Minnesota and forget. Like, sales is a language. So this guy right here is one of the best linguistics, one of the best teachers, coaches you can think of as far as teaching sales and helping build, I guess, up high-performance sales stars. So go see him afterwards. Put your hands together for your 2018 Coffee and Closers sponsors. All right. Now comes the crazy part. With what we do, so my name is Nikolai Bador. I'm a creator and host of Coffee and Closers. When I'm not here, we run a revenue growth agency called BBG, or the Bador Business Group. I know, clever name, right? But what we do is we help grow revenue via sales, marketing, and some other things. Look us up at badorbusinessgroup.com. But what I love to do when I'm not doing that is I love to hang out with sales icons, with industry leaders, people like Amy. Amy is an interesting person I've known for a long time because she's one of the rare folks that have absolutely crushed it in corporate America, that have done accolades after accolades, built teams, inspired many, and then just decided to take that leap, to go and take that leap and do something for herself, something she's always wanted to do. How many people want to do that? Right? But very few have the courage to do so. So we're going to introduce Amy in a second. Something that she's done, though, is the things that she's done at Capella as far as building teams, motivating others, is something that it's still celebrated. You can't go around, we work at the Capella Tower, you can't go around the tower and not talk to people that Amy hasn't inspired. But what I love is Twin Cities Live. Have you guys ever seen Amy on Twin Cities Live? You guys have? Okay. You guys ever read her blog, To Woot? Am I saying that right? All right. I have a daughter, I have a family, and I cry when I read it. I love it. So without further ado, put your hands together for Amy Seaman. We're going to take a seat if that's cool with you guys. It's not on yet. All right. Amy?
Hello. That was a very nice introduction.
Right.
I hope the crying is like tears of laughter, right, at the stories on my blog.
We have a 2-month-old, so there's a little mix.
Yeah.
Tears of sleepiness and, tears
Yeah.
of joy, though, also.
Yes.
So I kind of breezed over your intro. You have an amazing story. Can you talk us kind of how you got into sales and how you got here?
Sure. I actually first got into sales out of desperation to leave retail right before the holiday season. I realized when on the schedule I was going to be opening on Black Friday at 3:30 a.m. that it was time to find a new job. Also, my entire paycheck went to new clothes since there was a heavy discount, so not really quite the right avenue for me. So I took the first sales job that I could find, which was selling trinkets, essentially to companies to help with their branding. I did that for a period of time, and then I went to McKinley Group, a recruiting firm where I actually met Mick, to get a new job, and instead they said, hey, we're hiring to fill our marketing department, would you come work for us? So I did that for a period of time, and then went on to higher education and was on the B2C sales side and then the B2B sales side before getting into leadership and leading a B2B team. During all of that, so selling everything from a high commodity, trinkets and trash, to now, I shouldn't say trash, but to now, I am essentially selling myself and my brand because of the blog, and I am my brand, so I'm selling myself in terms of working with different brands. I'm also selling myself to get into people's homes, so I do a lot of personal shopping and closet consulting, and that's a very intimate, personal space that you are getting people to feel comfortable enough with you to invite you in, and kind of everything in between. I started the blog 2 years ago, and that opened up some doors. It was really meant to be more of a creative outlet for me when I was raising a 3-year-old. No one prepares you for the 3s. They talk about terrible 2s, but the 3s, it's like I knew in my heart I loved him, but I was having a really hard time liking him some days. So I needed to find the humor and the madness, and so I decided to start the blog, and weaved in some fashion, and that turned into Twin Cities Live, and here I am on a couch with my buddy Mick.
So what's harder, selling trash or selling your? No, I'm just joking.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
No. I love it. I have a daughter. In fact, you guys, they're sitting right there. It's the first time my family has joined us, and I brought them specifically here to see you. Okay. Something that I want my daughter to hear is you've had so much success. I mean, so much success. It's hard to track because you've had to have had some failures, right? So we all learn from failures, do we not? All right. So I'm going to ask the question. Tell us about a failure that maybe, or failures that you faced, challenges you accepted, it didn't go so hot, and what you learned from it.
Yeah, I think, raise your hand if you've ever been laid off. Has anyone ever been laid off? Okay. So it was 2008, and I was working for a recruiting firm placing marketing executives. So this is right when the economy was turning, nobody was hiring. Marketing was often the first place where budgets were being cut, so they weren't even paying a fee for top talent. And I had been there about 8 months-ish, and I had not closed a single deal. So when one of the partners came to tap me on the shoulder, I knew I was on the chopping block, and I immediately started bawling, like ugly crying in his office. Pretty sure I was begging him to keep me because I had all these things that were just about to close. If only I had more time, and why did this guy get to stay? But he hasn't closed anything, but I had to leave. Finally, I think he kind of realized, this isn't going to go anywhere. And so he said, would you like me to have someone get your things and you just exit and, they'll wait for you outside? And I said, I can hold my head up high and walk out of here. And I went to the bathroom to gather myself, and I looked in the mirror, and I had mascara everywhere and a huge booger in my nose. And it was that moment of humility that I needed as a high potential 20-something, right? So I went on and took on another job in a different industry. There were several layoffs that we went through at that time, but I managed to survive. And I saw a lot of good people let go, and I realized that sometimes there are things that are beyond our circumstance, and so it wasn't necessarily a matter of failing. Ironically, the recruiting company called me less than a year later and asked me if I wanted to go back and work for them again. So I didn't completely damage my brand there, but taking a step back and reflecting on my time there, while it felt like the end of the world in that moment, I realized that I hadn't closed anything in 8 months. And it was really hard and stressful, and like maybe that's not the best role for me or the position that I need to be in.
Isn't it wild when you have that scenario and you go, man, what am I going to do now? And it's almost like doors just open for you, which is what happened to you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, so we work together, and I'm not saying, but there's been some scenarios I know I've walked in where there, especially now I see this a lot more, where there just isn't a playbook. There's just, people are hiring sales reps and just going, get along. I think that's unfair because I didn't grow up. We got trained. We got trained. But there's also a playbook of getting just into the field of sales and just getting into work in general and having no guidance. Having situations that you've never been in that might be a little funky, and how to kind of navigate through those. And I'd love to hear kind of your response to something like that.
Yeah, so I think the whole intent of a playbook is to create a repeatable process, and when followed, it should have a predictable and favorable outcome. What I will share is that personally, I have found there is no playbook for how to navigate sexual harassment. And I know that this isn't necessarily where you're directing the conversation, but I think it's a conversation that we need to have, and this is the first time that I'm actually speaking publicly about it, but it's a critical part in my story and what has led me here, so bear with me. It took me nearly 6 months and almost reaching a breaking point before I finally had the courage to come forward to HR and talk about what I was experiencing in terms of gender biases and sexual harassment with a male leader in a position of power. And I realized in doing that why more women don't come forward. It is a grueling process, and we tell ourselves that, he didn't touch me, so maybe it's not that bad, or I have really thick skin, so I should just be able to brush it off. But that's the thing about sexual harassment is it's not black and white. It's very gray. There is a fine line between what is unlawful and what is unacceptable behavior. There's not always a witness, in some cases not a credible one. It will almost always come down to a he said, she said game. One of the things that I always pride myself on is the brand that I have built for myself. I was asked to be part of this cultural influencer group where everyone nominated individuals that they looked to in the organization during times of transition who kind of set the tone for the culture. And my name, along with a dozen others, rose to the top. And so I had to take this moment to say, if I don't speak up, when people are looking to me to do that, who will? And so I did. And after a very intense 4-week investigation, they said, if it happened the way you described, it absolutely is sexual harassment. But we were unable to substantiate your claims because the harasser denied it, and the only witness within earshot was my male boss who couldn't recall the incident from 6 months earlier. If it happened the way you described, it absolutely is, but we were unable to substantiate your claims. That is a really hard pill to swallow. Certainly not the outcome I would have expected or hoped for. I think often in life we are faced with things that we have to compromise on, right? As a leader, as a sales professional, when you're negotiating terms, as a parent, when you're trying to get your child to put on their shoes so you can go out the door. But one thing I will never compromise on, and no one should, is our values. And in that moment, I made the decision that I was going to draw a line in the sand on what I will and will not accept. And I made the choice to confidently step into the unknown, stronger and more determined than ever. I remember having this moment as I was going through this where every day that I walked into a place where I felt unsafe and unsupported felt like a day wasted from living a life that I was meant to live. And I will tell you, life is too short to stay stuck. And so I walked away. And here's what I will leave you with as the lesson in this. One, if it makes you uncomfortable, it is not okay, period. Document everything. Conversations had, how it made you feel, where you were at, screenshot calendar invites if it was a meeting that you were in when it took place. Tell somebody you trust and tell them to document your conversation as well. Speak up. if you hear something, if you see something, if you experience something, use your voice. Be brave, be loud, but be professional and be objective. I think one of the things that helped me was my strong communication skills is really the only guideline I had to follow to navigate. And I'm incredibly proud of how well I handled myself despite my circumstance. Know when to walk away. Know when to walk away. If it no longer fuels you, if it challenges your morals, if it makes you question your worth, use that as a sign. It's time. And do not let yourself believe that you somehow failed. You did not fail. Allow yourself time to heal. There is this grieving process you go through that nobody really talks about. It's normal to feel all the feels. You realize projects go on without you. People that felt like family will slowly stop calling. You'll feel sad and you'll feel angry. Oh, you will feel angry. But don't let it make you bitter. And lastly, tell your story. It is such an important part of the healing process.
Thank you for sharing this on this platform. Put your hands together. Thank you. Thank you for leveraging this platform for something that we believe in. I'm a father of a daughter. I'm not going to cry too, am I? No. Father of a daughter. So my mom, we were having a conversation. We've been having conversations throughout life and just how she used to talk about her work environment back in the day. Not her specifically, but just the work environments that were going on. And no offense, Mom, that was a while ago. You've been out of the workforce for about 10 years. That was after a 30-year career, so you can do the math. The fact that it's 2018 and we still have to have this discussion is disgusting at the least. But anyway, let's talk about other things. Yeah. But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
With that was I feel like it was an accomplishment for you to share this today.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about some other accomplishments. Let's lighten the mood.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your success. And you've had a lot of it. And what you can pass on to these folks as far as the knowledge that you've obtained in kind of both worlds.
Yeah. I have had some successes, Mick said. I've also had a lot of different roles. So in my last company, I was there for almost 9 years, and I had 7 different roles. And that time, my husband used to always joke. He's like, oh, it's a new month. Like, what are you going to be doing now? Because I was always coming home with a new position. What was great about that opportunity is that I kind of was able to carve my own path. So one of the things that I got really good at was identifying an opportunity at the crossroads of where my skill sets aligned, where I saw opportunity to add value or gap in what the organization needed, and then also the market demands, and was able to articulate that up in order to create a role for myself. I think my greatest accomplishment that I can think of is when I created a client success function. I, at the time, had been leading an inside sales team, and we were testing a new market. And I realized there was a lot of opportunity there, but my team kind of, through performance management and people leaving, got down to a team of 1. And I realized that he felt very isolated from the rest of the sales organization. And so I could have shot myself in the foot by going to my director, but I said to her, I think we need to move him into the outside sales team so that he doesn't feel so isolated. Luckily, she believed in me enough to still give me a job. And she said, let's take time to think about what you want to do next. We were rolling out some new strategies. And so she said, maybe there's something around the experience that we need to be thinking about. Like, go think about that, come back with an idea. So what I did is I met with everybody I could think of that was in sales, that worked in all different industries, different companies. And I would sit with them and I would say, tell me about your sales process from beginning to end. And the common denominator that I found was this client success function. So I took that and I started doing some research. What is this? What does it mean? What does it look like? It's primarily in a SaaS or a tech industry. And so I thought, well, how can I take this learning and translate it to higher education? What I realized in my role was that there was a big gap between our B2B team and our B2C team. So our B2C team is when a learner from an organization calls in because they hear that they have employee benefits at Capella and they want to get a discount on their tuition. The enrollment counselor they're speaking with has no idea about the partnership, and so that's a big miss right there. Also, I found that we had so many overcomplicated processes internally, and we didn't have a point person to go to. So often learners would get passed from person to just find an answer on their billing. So my team kind of became this central point, connecting point between our B2B sales team, our internal processes team, and then our B2C team. And I'm really proud of being able to say that I kind of created a new function that not only made a difference in how we were working together internally, but it also became something that our sales reps used as part of their value prop when they talked about what makes Capella different, because there weren't any other higher ed companies, to my knowledge, that had a client success team.
That's awesome. Now, I want to transition from that success to you taking this leap, because I did it too. And I mean, my wife can testify, like, there are some years where we're like, why did we do this? It isn't easy. There's got to be other people that are dreamers, right? Whether you raise your hand or not. I mean, there you go. It's December. You'd be lying to yourself if you're like, you don't have that thought, that tick a little bit to say, what if? Whether it's a new gig or it's starting your own thing. But very few do it. And then the people that do it, there's a high failure rate. But what I love about you is that you're an entrepreneur, right? But people think, oh, to be an entrepreneur, I got to go start a tech company, or I got to go get my real estate license or whatever, to fill the void. You went on and you support yourself doing something very interesting and completely different. Would you kind of share?
Yeah. So I think you said, like, how many people actually do it? Ironically, I wrote a blog post 3 years before I actually published anything. What I was hesitant on was my insecurity in my writing. The number one compliment I get today is that I'm a really strong writer. So I think sometimes we get in our own way, right? I think circumstance, again, the age of my kids and just needing this like creative outlet is sort of what forced my hand. My decision to leave corporate America and go out on my own, again, was part based on what I just shared. But I think that the universe sometimes has a funny way of forcing your hand to go a certain direction. And so I've always been good about following my gut instinct. The Twin Cities Live also came from meeting the right people. I can't stress enough how much having a strong network has helped me navigate my career. So when you think entrepreneur, I don't have necessarily I have a business, but it's not like I've started a tech company or anything. But I've carved my own path, and I think you can be an entrepreneur and have that entrepreneur spirit even within your organization. Like, how do you identify where there's opportunities where you could add value, and how are you articulating that, and what are you building and working for? But every opportunity I've had has come from a conversation I've had with someone, and I truly believe that if you are stuck, the only way to get unstuck is by getting out and meeting new people, because that one conversation will lead to another conversation, or just even those moments of clarity, like somebody will say something, you're like, that's exactly it. And so I think that is so important to come to things like this to build your network.
I want to ask a couple specific questions, if that's okay. Because
Yeah.
Does anyone here want to be on TV? Because anyone just had that desire? Nobody? All right.
I'm always looking for models.
Come on.
Always looking for
Where's
models.
Josh? No. Everybody knows you're an attention.
Josh is definitely not the follow-up to looking for models.
That
I
is
love to show all shapes, sizes, age range.
So I want to ask about the TV thing.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you guys, it's December, so what the hell? I always wanted to be in radio. I always wanted to be on TV, and no one would give me a shot, or I didn't really know where to go.
Yeah.
So that's my question. Is
sure.
how But we started Coffee and Closers because I was like, I will not be put down. I'm going to be on camera one way or the other.
I have to make it myself.
Jake used to do Jay Leno and Jimmy Kimmel, right? So I think we're just about there. How did that happen? How did you make that work?
I actually never had aspirations of being on TV. I mean, maybe like a reality show or something. I could see myself thriving in that situation, but I didn't really have aspirations.
What was that MTV show where everyone...
The Real World.
You wanted that was your idea?
Yes, but mostly now because I wanted to be on the challenges that were like the sequel to that.
Wasn't
Very
that the bus,
competitive.
Wasn't that the
also
bus one where they driving the bus?
No,
that's
different? Road Rules. My husband knows.
Guess you didn't grow up with cable. Thanks, Mom.
So I didn't have any aspirations of being on TV. Shortly after I had started my blog, I was at a LuLaRoe party, which is like those crazy wild leggings that was a thing for a while you sell at home. And I met someone at that party who worked for Tiger Oak Media Publishing Company. which creates the city magazines like Maple Grove Magazine, Edina Magazine. Again, going back to the network, it's like you want to be, when you meet new people, you want to be memorable, right? You want them to think of you when an opportunity arises. And so about a month later, I get a call from her. They had been brainstorming the February issue. They wanted to feature a mom blogger, and she said, I just met one. She also happens to live in Maple Grove. And so I went and I sat down for an interview, which I think I just babbled for like 2 hours. Like I hardly asked any questions. I just kept talking and say, maybe don't write that, or like maybe I should rephrase that. And like I do love my children, and so I ended up getting the 2-page spread and the cover shot of the magazine. And then a month after that, the same Tiger Oak Media was meeting with Twin Cities Live, who's a client of theirs. And they said, hey, we're looking for a new fashion expert to join our panel of regulars. Do you know anyone? And they said, actually, you should see our February cover girl. So they went to my YouTube channel, which is really just a lot of Snapchat stories and like one-off, like how to tie a blanket scarf. But they called me and they're like, we think you're hilarious. We would love for you to join our panel. And as long as you don't bomb it, we hope to have you on once a month. So no pressure. I mean, it is totally live. But it was one of those moments of like, well, that sounds fun. Like, sure. I've never shied away from the spotlight, so I thought, why not? And I went on, and I loved it, because it's 6 minutes that I get to create, right? So I choose the topic, I pick my models, I curate their looks, I write the topics, and so I feel like it's something that I have this creative control over, and it's really been a fun journey.
I love it. Has anyone caught this? You've had a couple of examples that if anyone's listening is when you open your eyes, opportunity, it presents itself, even after the things that had happened to you.
I do believe that the universe has a way of kind of opening up.
That's amazing.
To you when you.
So I'm getting the hook. I think I got one more question, and then I gotta be unselfish and give her to you guys. But I would love to hear kind of as far as selling yourself, or if you're just getting started, what would you tell your 21-year-old self if you were just getting started?
If I was just getting started, I would say build a personal advisory board. I think when I first started my career, I found like my one mentor, and he's still been one of my greatest mentors and has become a good friend. But I started to realize that some of the things that I needed, he necessarily wasn't the best person to go to for. So have a variety of people, and it can be formal or informal. I think it used to be this very formal, like I have a mentor and we're going to meet once a month and here's what we're going to talk about. And I've realized, like as I've kind of built out, I have my people that I know who to go to for different things. And so I think if I would have done that earlier on in my career, I think that is so invaluable. So look for those people that can help give you guidance and clarity, and be your truth tellers or be your cheerleaders or coaches, sponsors, all of that.
You're amazing. You guys, was there any better way to end 2018 Coffee and Closers? Put your hands together for Amy.
Thank you. All right, so what do we think? What'd you learn? Well, if you like that, check out coffeeclosers.com for upcoming episodes, recordings, and more. And don't forget to check out our sponsors. Each one has been hand-selected. They are best in class. Until next time, we'll see you at the next Coffee and Closers. Cheers.
Say live, come on live a life we love. Gotta live, I said live a life we love.